Hey everyone, so I've been flying the new Crusader Mercury Star Runner around lately. Crusader's ship names are kind of a mouthful, but anyway, I think I've had enough time with it now that I can share some thoughts I have about the ship. Be sure to be subscribed though, because there's already rumors and leaks about 3.12 coming out, and I'll make sure to have a video up on that as soon as it's in PTU. I've even heard there might be a straight to flyable ship, but I'm not trying to get my hopes up too much. Back to the Star Runner though, I want to start by going over some of its basic features and characteristics. So the ship's main focuses are data running, which isn't in the game yet, and cargo running. To do this, instead of being heavily armored with lots of weapons to defend its cargo and data, it's designed to be fast, and especially fast for its size. This being fast was one of the main selling points of the ship, and I mean it's even in the name with Star Runner. Now for some ships, CIG likes to bring this up, and they don't really deliver. Like the 600i, which is supposedly made out of some super light material to give it best-in-class handling, but it still flies like a whale. Now with the Star Runner, they did not disappoint. If you haven't gotten to fly one yet, I'd say it's almost on the level of something like a Vanguard. Not quite, but it's definitely impressively fast for its size. I was definitely surprised the first time I flew one. What I think is even more impressive though is how this ship flies in atmosphere. So you're seeing me now taking off from Lorville, which has quite a thick atmosphere and it can take a long time to get out of here in some ships. With the Star Runner though, you get up to 10,000 meters and are ready to quantum travel really fast. So I'm really glad with how this ship flies and glad to see that they really delivered on this promise of it being a fast ship. Now moving on to the overall design, I am a bit disappointed with how the exterior of the ship looks. I think it would really benefit from being a bit slimmer, especially in height, and a big reason why it can't be is because of the vent systems that you can crawl around in below decks. Now I'm not going to spend too much time on these because I think they're just a gimmick, and they definitely are for now, but I hope they are useful at some point in the future, because it would be a shame for them to have made the ship so chunky for something that doesn't really get used. One part of these vents that will definitely be useful though is this hidden storage area, which holds I believe 6 SCU, and this is perfect for smuggling. It should be outside of the scope of normal inspections and scanning, so at some point when the security systems are a bit more advanced, this hidden area will be very useful. But yeah, overall I'm not a fan of the compromises it seems like they had to make to get these vents in here, but I'm optimistic that they'll be worth it at some point. Besides the vents, I only have a few more complaints about the interior of this ship. One of them is this really unnecessary seeming elevator in the cargo area. I wish this were just a ramp, because really all it does is slow you down on your way to the cockpit. And then the other minor annoyance I have is that the buttons on these control panels are a bit small. Now it's definitely nice to have them on the interior doors, because that gives you a level of control over those that's not found in any other ship right now. But the fact that the exterior door uses one of these tiny buttons as well is really annoying. It's just way too small for how far away you have to press it from, and it can be kind of frustrating to get the ramp open on this ship. But that seems like an easy fix, so hopefully that gets changed at some point. But as for everything else design-wise with the ship, I think they really nailed it. I think Crusader's design style is going to be my favorite out of all the manufacturers. And when you're talking about ship design in Star Citizen, that's saying a lot. I think with this ship, they just really captured a great balance between futuristic and clean-looking materials, while still having a lived-in, worn-down sort of look. It really reminds me in a lot of ways of Star Wars, but it's still unique to Star Citizen. But yeah, there's so many great little details in the interior here, from where they place the lighting elements, to the way the doors open into different segments with little mechanical pieces moving on each part, the detail in the components like the server racks, and the welcoming feel of the recreation and habitation areas. On top of all that, the cockpit has a really interesting design, and I really like the way that the seats run along this track and put you in a perfect position to see out of that beautiful strutless canopy. I also really like this dashboard, if you will, on this ship, where you have your two main MFDs in front of you, but a mostly unobstructed view and even a little bit of canopy right above your feet. But you still have two more MFDs to your left and out of the way, and one to your right, which lets you have stuff up that you don't need to be looking at all the time, like the comms panel over here. So yeah, in terms of the ship's interior, I am definitely a fan. So now I want to talk about actually using this ship in the game right now, and how well it does the various jobs that it can do. So I'm going to start with cargo because that's the only thing that this ship is really meant to do that's currently in the game. Overall, it's as good as a cargo ship as it can be right now, considering the amount it can haul. There are a few minor issues with using it in this role for now, but they're definitely going to get fixed. So the first one, which I already saw is getting addressed in leaked 3.12 patch notes, is the ship's hydrogen fuel consumption. This ship is great on quantum fuel and you can put some really fast size 2 drives in it and not worry, but this is the only ship that I've ever used where I've almost run out of hydrogen fuel. It just goes through it really fast, but thankfully it's usable enough that as long as you start out with a full tank for each play session, you're probably going to be fine. And although I'm normally all for respecting the realism in the game, this is one ship that I would claim instead of refueling. With all the bugs with actually being able to refuel at a landing pad right now, and the cost of refueling the ship, and the fact that sometimes you refuel a ship and then after you retrieve it again it hasn't actually refueled, I think you're just better off claiming this thing when you need more fuel. It'll save you a lot of hassle and credits. The other slight bother I noticed is that it does tend to nose down when flying in atmosphere, if you either lock your course with shift or do something that takes your control away, like going into your mobi-glass. So hopefully that gets tuned too, because that is a minor annoyance. But other than that, it's great. I think the best way to utilize the strengths of the ship are to do runs that involve flying in heavy atmosphere, like this run I did here from Bezdek to Lorville. The ship is like 3 times faster than a Caterpillar in atmosphere, so on runs like these, your flying portions are going to go by really quickly in the ship. If it weren't for the train ride at Lorville slowing you down, you could probably do runs almost twice as fast in this ship. And with the way Laranite supply is right now, the size of the cargo hold in here is basically perfect. Now I did have to wait for a little while at the outpost here before I was able to fill up my ship, because I recorded this during the IAE, so stuff was extra busy, but thankfully the new dart guns and another trader stopping by gave me something to do. But once it finally did restock, you can see that I got pretty much a full hold of Laranite, besides a tiny bit of titanium I bought to try to update the terminal. I'm looking forward to when trade becomes a little bit more advanced in Star Citizen though, because right now it's a bit simplistic with the current commodity offerings. Basically, the bigger the ship, the better. I feel like something like the Star Runner should have a place though, and as higher value commodities make their way into the game, I think it'll get even better as a trading ship. Still, I made about 23,000 Alpha UEC off of this run that only took me about 15 minutes, and my profit would be about double that if the prices weren't so whack right now because of all the people trading during the IAE. So overall, right now the Star Runner is actually pretty solid for these higher value commodity runs, so stuff like your Laranite and Agricium, and I think it'll get even better when there's more opportunities for it to haul higher value stuff to make the most out of that 114 SCU. Besides trade, the only other main gameplay loop that this ship can do right now is combat, just because of what's available in the game. Now this definitely isn't a combat ship, but that doesn't mean it's incapable of doing these missions, it's just not great at it. The pilot only has 2 size 3 guns available, and I think out of all the things you'd look for in a combat ship like speed, maneuverability, and durability, this is where it lacks the most. Or depending on your priorities, it could be the ship's massive EM signature that puts you on everyone's radar from thousands of meters away, but at this point in the game, I don't feel like that's too big of a deal. But even with the pretty poor firepower, I'd still say you can take on any NPC combat mission in the game right now with the ship solo, besides some of the more unique mission giver missions. But with stuff like your claim jumpers and any crime stat of bounty, you're not really going to struggle at all with this ship, even solo. I was actually pretty surprised by how well it performed. Because of its maneuverability, it lets you get really close to your targets, especially stuff like the lumbering NPC constellations, so you can really get the most out of those 2 guns. Also, this is a multi-crew ship, so if you get 2 friends to fill those turrets, you can triple your firepower, since each one also has 2 size 3 weapons. It's still not even as much DPS as the Constellation's pilot-controlled weapons, but at that point it's nothing to scoff at. Thankfully, I haven't had any shield hole issues, although I haven't investigated this too thoroughly, but if they're there, they aren't as noticeable as on ships that have big issues with them like the Constellations and Hornets. But yeah, one thing that I was a little surprised about was with 2 medium shields on a ship this big, you get hit pretty often, even by NPCs, and those shields don't have all that much health. Before I tried this ship out on a few claim jumper missions, I was doing them in a Prowler, which isn't the smallest ship, but compared to when I was flying the Star Runner, the sentry turrets barely hit me at all when I was in the Prowler. But this definitely isn't a deal breaker because it's kind of a bonus that this ship can do combat at all. I mean, it's designed to run from combat, and it can definitely do that. So if you're looking to do a few NPC combat missions in the ship, then I'd say go ahead. But when it comes to PvP and missions of higher difficulty as those get implemented, this isn't going to be the ship for doing that. Now if we were just going to cover stuff that the Star Runner can currently do, this was pretty much where the video would end. Smuggling and data running are both going to be strong suits of the ship, but they're not in the game yet, so we're just going to have to wait on those for now. But thanks to another little vehicle called the Rock, the ship has another profitable use, and kind of funnily, it's probably the most profitable use of this ship right now. That kind of shows you how big the issues that cargo hauling has right now are. But I guess it's nice that the Rock is so profitable because it's quite accessible for most players at only 172,000 Alpha UEC in game, and you can fly it around in a whole variety of ships. Specifically talking about the Star Runner though, I'd say it's one of the best ships for flying around the rock right now. The biggest issue you're going to have while doing this is just how long it takes to get from the cockpit to the cargo bay, especially with that annoying elevator, but it's great to use in pretty much every other way. If you're mining solo, there's a ton of room to park your rock, and you don't even have to be careful about lining up on the ramp like you would with the smaller Cutlass. There's a lot of extra room on either side, and I haven't had any clipping issues with the ramp either, which is really nice. And if you want to mine with your friends, you could bring at least one more rock, and I've seen people fit 3 into this ship. And again, the Star Runner's great atmospheric flight really helps it in this role as well, and you can cruise along looking for Hadanite nodes pretty quickly. Some other nice things that just make rock mining with this ship a breeze are how far the ramp goes down when you land, which makes it so you don't have to be too careful about the terrain you're landing on, and again that this ramp opens pretty quickly, so you're not stuck there waiting on it forever to get your rock out of the ship. So if it's important to you for your ship to be able to handle vehicles really well, I'd say the Star Runner does really well in this category. So that's all I have for this video, and overall the Star Runner is already a really versatile ship, even before one of its main gameplay loops is implemented. Once data running's in game, this ship will really shine, but it's already great. So congrats to all the Star Runner owners who finally have their ships in game, and let me know your thoughts on this brand new ship. Like I've said before, this thing coming out makes me really excited for the upcoming Hercules Starlifter, which is hopefully coming out sooner rather than later. If that ship has any bit of the MSR's atmospheric flight performance, it's going to be an amazing ship to trade with. But anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.